How's it going, everybody? As promised, I want to talk a little more in depth about the mechanic of two stances on a hero, or rather stance switching. But that is actually the dilemma already. Is it two separate ones, or is it the fluidity between the two? People have different expectations, and that is what we're going to take a look at today. The two possible approaches, and the bad and good of both. Because there certainly are valid reasons to go either, despite many probably preferring one. I asked you guys to give feedback in the frame check video, so I'll try and incorporate some of your opinions as well. Before that though, a quick word from today's sponsor. I have been an RTS fan for a long time, and when Purple War reached out and I took a look at it, all that nostalgia came back. So yeah, this will be boomer talk right now. Check the link down below for the Steam link. It immediately reminded me of Warcraft 2 when I first saw it, but it incorporates many of the features and pays homage to other old school RTS games like StarCraft or Command & Conquer. Not just that, but it also made an effort to streamline the gameplay, which includes simplifying hotkeys, for example, which allows for less of an entry barrier that you would usually encounter in that genre. Other than that, you get your usual base building, resource gathering, and the creation of a powerful army. Whether you rush the opponent or sit back, both approaches can have its benefits. Macro gaming or micromanaging the army during intense battles, choice is up to you. There is also co-op available, so grab a friend and start building. Purple War is currently in its second free playtest, and it lasts until August 7th. A link is down below so you can enable it on your Steam page without having to download any annoying third-party launches. The Purple War team also has a surprise in store for people that participate in that playtest, so if you have any interest in this game, then now is the perfect time to check it out. A link is down below so you can be lazy and don't even have to search for anything. Alright, enough about RTS, back to For Honor and the dilemma of stance switching. As I mentioned in the intro, people have certain expectations when it comes to this mechanic. There are two approaches. One is highly specialized stances. The hero is great at a specific thing in the stance and really bad at others. And however many stances you have, you are extremely strong in that very niche. The other approach, and the one that I think most people were hoping for, is stance switching in the middle of combos. The stances will still have strengths and weaknesses, but they are offset by allowing the hero to quickly and seamlessly flow between them. MEDJAY is not quite either of the two, but is more leaning towards the specialized side. Staff stance is made for team fighting, and Axe stance is made for 1v1s, but neither of the stances is particularly great at it. And I can also understand why that is. If Staff was S tier team fighting and Axe was S at dueling, then the hero becomes an automatic must pick. What would also happen is outrage, similar to what we've seen with Pirate. At the moment you can read nonsense like finally a balanced new hero, which I don't really want to get into right now. That's a topic for another day. Fact is that MEDJAY is currently not excelling at anything. He's an alright pick for matchmaking, you can certainly pick him, but the quote unquote highly specialized stances aren't quite as specialized as we had hoped. What I can relate to in terms of comments from the community is that they don't want another orange-blue mix-up, or feintable bash, or more unblockables. I get it. Even if it would make the character work, it wouldn't really feel all that different. I understand that sentiment. At the same time, wishing for a lackluster kit for the sole sake of uniqueness isn't really a smart thing either, now is it? But what this basically leaves us with is leaning more towards the other approach, a faster flow between the stances. Letting MEDJAY combine Staff and Axe moveset by switching mid-chain. That would allow for more possible combos, make the character more unpredictable, and hopefully increase the viability of the mix-ups. Because if you put the two stances next to each other, the button presses still remain the same. Both have infinite chains, and end the chain with two of the same attacks. Both allow for a bash after a light. So the stances are already mirrored and would allow for a very easy to understand swap system. Now a few potential problems as perceived by the community before we talk more about how the switching would actually work. One problem would potentially be infinite frame advantage. The community absolutely hates this. Ever since we started to talk more about this topic with the release of Warmonger, I think, this has been somewhat of an issue. Players don't like when a hero can repeatedly be on the offensive. Taking turns isn't what they want either, but relentless offense is probably even more hated. And I can understand that, it sometimes does feel oppressive. but at the same time it is somewhat required to make the in-chain stance switching work. Let me explain. We have very few attack chains that are light interruptible. The requirements usually are light hit stun, a long chain link, 300 ms or more, and then a slow attack afterwards with no hyper armor. Prime example here is Ronhu light into chain heavy finisher. If I recall correctly, we are looking at a 300 ms chain link and then a 900 ms heavy. If you buffer a light against that, then you will interrupt said heavy. And that is something that might happen with the stance switching in chain. If every stance switch attack is light interruptible, then the whole premise falls apart in my opinion. So it is vital that MEDJAY keeps frame advantage during switches. I know that he has hyper armor on the heavies in staff, but still. The main problem that we're facing is that the switching currently takes 766 ms after attacks. That is the time between hitting an opponent with one attack and then being able to throw the next attack from the different stance. That time has to come down quite significantly. We already have a fast switch after parries, which is 466 ms. The whole 766 is currently comprised of the end of the swing of the weapon and then the 466 of the switch. The 300 end of swing animation can be cut down significantly, but also remember that some attacks do have hitboxes after the initial impact. So to not lose these, I think we need a minimum of 100 ms from that. But this is just me guessing here. I never tested how long hitboxes linger. On top of that, the stance change needs to also come down. Overall, I don't think the hero can afford to have a longer mid-chain stance switch than 300 to 400 ms. And 400 ms is probably massively pushing it. Completely hiding the stance switch without any animation would probably be a bit too confusing. We've had changes in the past solely on the premise of being too confusing otherwise. So with that in mind, we need to keep parts of the animation plus the pink reddish glow on each switch. For the switch into staff, I don't really see any problems. It's really quick and can probably be quite easily adjusted. The switch to axe on the other hand has this fancy twirl in it, which might look a little ridiculous if sped up or if you cut things from the beginning or end. As many of you might have guessed already, this is me talking out of my arse because I don't really have any idea how the animations work exactly and how they can be adjusted. It's simply me trying to explain what would have to be done to make it somewhat feasible to switch within combos. Because we do often complain about transitions between moves, and the reworks have also been rejected by the community simply because of how jank animations looked. Meaning there would be a massive outcry about how the chains looked if the transitions were bad. Let alone all the complaints of having a hero that has more than 2 possible moves in a chain. Seems insane to expect a player to count to 3 or higher. All in all, I think that in-chain stance switching is still not an insane amount of work for the benefit it might bring. It would elevate MEDJAY in terms of uniqueness, and that is something the community has expressed quite loudly in the past. We've talked in the other video how lackluster axe stance is and how many changes it would require to make it worthwhile. But as I mentioned, I don't know which of the options here is less work and yields more benefits, both in player perception as well as hero viability. Community backlash has always been big in For Honor, which is quite sad since many changes can be attributed to it, and many bad changes are there. But I still hope Ubisoft takes the plunge and adjusts MEDJAY in a way that promotes more stance switching. Go all in on the gimmick. Let's leave it at that. Feel free to share your opinion on this. Hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters everybody.